Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Rowan Zeoli for a game of Twist of Fates. Rowan, alongside Chase Carter and Lynn Kodega, is one of the voices behind Rascal, a worker-owned, reader-supported tabletop RPG news site focused on reporting that is alternative, independent, and roguelike. Party people, the thing is, Rascal fucks. If we believe that the future is worker-owned, and I fully believe that the future is worker-owned, then outlets like Rascal, which launched a couple months ago, are not just exciting, but are vital and important and what we should be supporting as an industry, as an art form, and as a collection of loosely connected communities. The work that Rowan, Lynn, and Chase are doing to report on tabletop news and perspectives and actual play productions, the mix of commentary and really great journalistic reporting and incredible critique and insights, it's just all so damn important and exciting, and it's the kind of thing that I want to see more of out of the space. I could rant about Rascal for hours. I was a day one subscriber. I really care about this website. But I'm going to stop myself, especially because Rowan and I do gush a little bit on the actual episode itself. So instead, I'm just going to say go to rascal.news, become a subscriber, either a free subscriber for their email lists or a paid subscriber to read their articles. Check it out. It is so worth your time. Go to rascal.news for more information or check the show notes for more. Now let's talk about Twist of Fates. Twist of Fates is a 2 to 4 player GM-less role-playing game about a mythical hero in the Greek tradition and the three fates that are weaving their story. Players take turns wrapped in this sort of tug-of-war between legend and context, the hero seizing their destiny and the greater forces of the universe pushing them towards their inevitable demise. I really loved playing this game. This game was something special. This session was something special. This is a really cool episode that I'm really excited for you to listen to. You can find more information about Twist of Fates at illicitpeanuts.itch.io, or you can check the show notes for more information. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I'm so excited. I'm sitting down with Rowan Zeoli. Rowan, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so fucking stoked for this game. I've been looking forward to it all day. I'm excited to sit down with you today at the time of this recording. It is a big, exciting day for the both of us, and that is a pretty cool thing to celebrate with a Party of One recording specifically.
Absolutely. Got two really big things going on for both of us.
It's a pretty cool day. For the listener, we are recording this on February 21st. It is the day that Party of One released its 400th episode, and I'm not going to steal your thunder. Why don't you tell us what you've got going on that you might want the audience at home to know about?
Well, absolutely. I also want to call out that you did Project Echo for your 400th episode. Love that game. Incredible. Elliot Davis, fantastic game designer.
Phenomenal game. I and truly I reached out to Elliot to be like, hey, I have this idea. Is it cool if I half break your game and see if it works in a format that it was not intended to? And his immediate response was like, what do I need to do to help you make this happen? And I could not be more grateful. It was just a wonderful experience getting to play that game in the weirdest possible context.
Oh, yeah. You did some wild things that I did not think could be done with it, but is consistent with how I really got into actual play reporting, because one of the first actual plays I ever listened to outside of the big ones that I started being like, oh, this is art, was my first Dungeons Project Echo single episode. Fantastic, incredible actual play. If you have not listened to it, go listen to this after you're done with that. After you're done with this. But the thing that we're here for today is because yesterday, as the recording of this, Rascal News launched.
Talk to us about Rascal News.
Yeah, so Rascal News is a new reader-supported, worker-owned, independent tabletop role-playing game journalism outlet. It's a lot of words to describe something that's incredibly cool. Yeah, so me, Lynn Kodega, and Chase Carter decided that we were done with the way that traditional media was running itself as budgets were being slashed everywhere and tens of thousands of people were getting laid off across journalism, and we decided that the tabletop role-playing game space needed some independent, voicey journalism. And so the three of us got together and decided to launch a newsroom.
It's
which is
so
crazy.
fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. It's crazy. It's cool. Like, I saw the initial, like, press release announcement, and I screamed in my living room. Because I was like, this is three of the, in my mind, most, like, important voices in tabletop RPG journalism at the moment. Like, this is three voices that are bringing incredibly important perspectives to the art form and the hobby. And, like, doing it in a way where you own the work and where it is, like, you know, you provide the direction. I was like, this is one of those things that, like, reminds me why I love doing the show so much, is that I get to bear witness to these very cool moments in the history of the art form that we share.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, no, I have looked up to Lynn and Chase's work for a while. The stuff that they have been doing for years now has very much influenced the way I approach writing about these games. And you're so right. Having the three of us, despite our shortcomings as human beings, is so incredible to be like, oh no, we see that the power that this medium has, that this art form has, and the fact that it is not getting anything outside of like SEO driven, ad based reporting, or like really, really niche indie blog reporting, which is really valuable but does not have the reach of a traditional newsroom. Sure. Like, it's just a perfect combination of things. And honestly, I had an article come out today where I interviewed Montana State Representative Zoe Zephyr and independent journalist Erin Reed. Like, the fact that I wouldn't be able to do that literally anywhere else. And so the fact that I have a place to do it with Rascal is incredible.
And, like, I saw that headline and, like, it stopped me in my tracks. Like, you're so right that it is having a space where that kind of, like, journalism can be explored, and where, like, we can tell those kinds of stories and, like, explore the art form through that way and use it as a lens through which to talk about, like, the very real issues that we are facing in the world is, like, so valuable. But more than that, it's fucking cool. Fucking cool is the best way that I could possibly describe it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really, really cool, but also I really agree. I think there's something so powerful about like the radical joy that playing games with other people can really bring you. But I think also the TTRPG space as a space is such a microcosm of the world at large. It is such a burgeoning space. It is still relatively new compared to other entertainment industries. And we have the option to do something different. Like, we have the potential as a really community-driven industry and community to not follow along with the old capitalist ways of how the world has been set up. We can focus on the individual. We can focus on community. We can make sure that we're focusing on the art that we're making over the content that we're making, and making sure that we're coming in with this mindset of like, the work that we do here doesn't just impact within the tabletop role-playing game sphere. It can breach containment, and the models that we're building here, building off of Defector and Hellgate and a bunch of other independent newsrooms, is just mind-blowing. And the fact that that can spread into other industries and spread beyond just journalism. Worker-owned is the future, and the only way any of us are going to be able to do anything.
You're so right. I'm feeling the energy. I'm so fucking excited. And speaking of the art that we make, do you want to play a role-playing game?
Oh, God, I would love nothing more than to play a role-playing game right now.
Then let's play a game. We are playing Twist of Fates today. It is a role-playing game for 2 to 5 players, or 2 to 4 players, about a Greek hero and the fates. They are watching the Greek legend. We are going to draw some cards. We are going to answer some prompts, and we are going to tell the story of a Greek hero throughout the sort of traditional stages of a Greek myth, starting from their youth into their rise to glory, their sort of hero years, their twilight into their tragic fate. And as this is happening, the fates are going to watch over the story that we tell. They are going to throw complications in. Our hero is going to be specifically terrorized by a specific deity or monster. And we are just going to have some fun telling a story together. So yeah, I guess the first big question, one of us is going to play like a mythical hero in the Greek tradition, and the other is going to play the fates, the godly nemesis, does one of those roles excite you more than the other?
I think the role of the Fates really excites me.
All right, cool. I genuinely was not sure which role I was going to come into, and playing a hero is very exciting to me. This is a good energy. I'm hyped
Hell
for it.
yeah.
So, and I guess I want to ask you, like, what's the energy that you're bringing to the game? What does it, what excites you about the game? What is the energy you're bringing to the table? What are sort of the reference points that are on your mind as we kick into the game proper?
Yeah, absolutely. When you gave me a list of a couple games that you thought vibed well with the Rascals energy where we're starting out, you had some really cool punk games, but the thing that I thought was really, really interesting about this game is the fact that it's a GM-less system, so we're working together collaboratively. There is no, like, the power dynamic is a little more balanced in creating this story. But also this idea of rewriting the way things used to be. Like, the idea of fate coming into this hero's life is such a deeply ingrained, like, we have this hyper-American, hyper-individualized sense of, like, the great man, you know, the hero can change everything. And I want to upend that completely. I want to make it so that way the hero, it can't do anything by himself. The only way the hero is going to make any difference is if he decides to reach out for help and collaborate with other people. And if he doesn't do that, oh boy, is his fate going to be tragic.
I love this. That feels so exciting. And, like, the cool thing about the game as we start out is, like, as the hero, like, defining a little bit of... You define a little bit of, like, the hero's vibe and sort of, like, in the sort of Herculean tradition, like, for lack of a better way to put it, the shit that they do. And, like, hearing you say that is so exciting to me, and I think I'm gonna lean into that a little bit. Like, some of the reference points I bring into, like, obviously this is drawing from this is very explicitly drawing from, like, Greek mythology traditions, and so, like, being brain poisoned in my specific way, my, like, most direct point of reference is the 1996 film Hercules.
Okay.
Quietly the best cinematic adaptation of Superman that we have ever received, which is a rant for another day.
You're not wrong. You should say it because you're right.
Thank you. And so, like, I you know, and in that sense of, like, thinking about the sort of Greek myth hero, I think about, like, superhero tropes and stuff, but I'm also kind of drawn to like a little bit of an Orpheus story of, like, a person who their power is, if we think about, like, Orpheus's song, a little bit of that sense of, like, connecting with people and reaching out is a very Jeff Stormer vibe that I'm excited to kind of lean into my bullshit a little bit.
Hell yeah. Oh, this is going to be exciting.
I'm so excited. Okay, so now that we've kind of got an idea of which role we are each going to be occupying, we are going to start out by defining our hero and their nemesis. As the hero, I'm going to choose a name and 2 patron deities from the Greek pantheon. And then I'm going to choose 2 cards to represent their sort of influence on the narrative. And then whenever those numbers come up as we draw cards, we'll represent one of those 2 one of those 2 gods, like, interfering in the story a little bit. And we'll collectively describe what that looks like.
Cool.
Then you are going to choose the 2 monsters or, like, opposing forces that represent the nemesis of the hero. We can each either choose them directly or roll a 12-sided die to decide it. And then you're also going to choose 2 numbers to represent those, so that anytime one of these 4 numbers comes up, our story gets further fucked with a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
I love a good narrative complication.
That's what drives a story forward.
I am going to, for my hero, I'm gonna decide on a name. I don't feel like I have a good Greek hero name in the back of my mind.
Yeah, no, I've never been good at naming something. It's never been my skill set of mine. Rascal was entirely Lynn's idea.
I'm gonna go Darthius. Darthius feels good. Darthius, he, they pronouns, and the 2 gods, I'm going to roll one and choose one because there is a god not on this list that, like, I was originally thinking about in terms of, like, what it would feel like to cast this god as a nemesis, but I actually like it as a patron god very much, especially if we're talking about, like, pulling from a sort of like supernatural sense of connection and communion, I am going to say, while also laying out the safety note that I'm not particularly interested in, I think, the sort of pop culture or easy direction of this god, I think Dionysus is a very fun god to have as a patron.
Respectable. I can see that. Absolutely.
I think a sense of communion and carousing and like joyful connection as like a patron entity is very compelling to me.
Oh, absolutely. I know this guy. I live in Bushwick. I know who this person is. This deity is.
Oh, fucking interesting. I rolled my D12. I rolled a 3. My other patron is Hades.
Very Orpheus.
How interesting. Okay, I gotta think about. Okay, I think I got this. I think I know Darthius's vibe. I'm gonna start writing down some notes. Talk to me about like if there are options off of the list or like what the vibe you want from Nemesis are.
So, well, the thing about me is whenever I'm given the option to roll a die, I'm gonna roll a die.
You gotta roll a die. Like it's just. The options are there. I have to know what the dice is going to tell
also,
me.
if we're leaning into fate, if that's what we're here for,
that's a good point too. That's a good point. You're so right.
So I think the fate I'm going to choose is Clotho, who spins the thread of life. Both because I find it very interesting the idea of the one who spins the tale, who spins the yarn, but also because Clotho sounds like a character from Disenchanted.
It does.
So let's see. Let's roll the die. That's an 11. The Minotaur. Ooh.
The Minotaur.
That's fascinating. I have a deep fascination with labyrinths and the story of the labyrinth. So that's a very, very interesting choice.
It is. And it's interesting, especially if we're thinking about like a character who is tied to people and connection. Like the labyrinth and the Minotaur as a concept is so isolating that I think that's a fascinating space to play around in.
Yeah, there's this I can't remember the author's name right now. There's this story. There's an old French short story. It's a reimagining of the life of Theseus. And the idea of when they get into the Minotaur, all the people who are in the Minotaur, all of the youths who have been sacrificed are actually just like stuck there in kind of a drug-induced state. And the Minotaur isn't actually like violent in any capacity. The Minotaur is just wandering around the labyrinth and is viewed as like this beautiful young man who has been ostracized from society. It's a deeply fascinating retelling that at some point I'm going to remember who the author is and we'll figure that out.
We'll get there when we get there. What do we want the other nemesis to be?
Well, let's roll again. That's a 7. Cerberus. Okay.
Also interesting.
Okay.
Also very, especially with Hades as a patron saint. If Cerberus as a nemesis presents a very interesting There's an interesting narrative there.
Yeah. Especially with the Orpheus music of it all. Like it's all tying together. That's why you listen to the dice. That's why you roll the dice.
That is exactly why we pull on the dice. This is where the magic happens. This is the joy of things. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about like what I envision whenever this character like reaches this point in their story. Because like I said, we're going to play through their youth into their rise to glory, into their twilight, go through each individual phase. The way that we're going to do that is that we have a deck of cards virtually in front of us that has been split into 4 suits. We are going to take turns drawing a card from that suit. Each card prompt has a question. When we draw the ace of a suit, we move on to the next section. That prompts the moving forward of our character's life. So we start with hearts as our youth, and then once we draw the ace of hearts, we will move on to our club cards to segue the next section of our journey until we reach the inevitably tragic end of the hero, at which point we kind of assess their life and decide where they spend their afterlife.
Ooh, okay.
So I've got it. So here's the first question. I have to choose whether I draw first or I take a token from my deity. Whenever one of us takes a token, which is to say, we should choose numbers for our respective deities and nemesis. This is important.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna throw 2. I like 2 as the only thing is it can't be an ace, but I like the extremes when I'm making like assigning things to numbers, because I like rolling an extreme edge at option and getting excited about it.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Well, in the spirit of that, then I'll pick. I can't do 12 because cards don't have 12. So in the spirit of that, I'll do 10.
That works, and then I'll take 2 and 3 if you want to take 9 and 10.
That sounds perfect. We love extremes. No middle sliders.
We love extremes. All right. Okay, great. So then we've got our everything is in place. I'm going to decide if words editing. So what's going to happen is whenever we draw a card that matches the number that is in front of us, that represents either that patron deity getting involved in our story and kind of meddling things, and we'll kind of describe what that looks like. Or that represents the nemesis particularly terrorizing the life of our hero.
Okay.
Whenever that happens, in addition to describing what that looks like, we take a token. We can spend a token at any time to alter the detail of a story, to mess with the thread of the fates.
Ooh.
You can also spend 5 tokens to completely snatch the card from the other player and completely disregard their answer, which represents either the fate stepping in and altering the story, or the hero seizing their own destiny from the fates and like refusing the call of destiny and their sort of inevitability.
Okay. Oh, I'm very excited.
I'm going to start out with a token. I would love for you to draw the first card. I think I will start out with a token. I don't know quite which of my patron deities has smiled upon me, but I'm going to hold on to this token and find out when it comes up.
Okay.
So draw us one of our hearts cards and then talk to us about the prompt.
Let's see. So 5 of hearts. Yeah, there you go. You can pull it off. So 5 of hearts. Who were the hero's childhood friends? How did they meet the hero? This is a very interesting question. So my editorial brain brings up this question with another question. What is the context in which this hero has grown up? Are we going Herculean style, where they're just kind of brought into this family and they don't really know their parents, so they have an adopted set of parents, a la Disney Hercules? Or is there a strong community that they're attached to already?
I think, especially, I'm thinking about like the presence. I'm thinking about the presence of the deities that watch over me. I've got Dionysus and Hades, and what I think, because I think also a big theme that I'm seeing, the connection between the two, that I think is going to reflect in sort of the heroic figure that Dorotheus becomes later in life, is the communal power of mourning, for lack of a better way to put it. A toast in memory, a toast to the dead. That sense, and I almost want to lean into that and say that Dorotheus's parents run like, or tend after, or like repair and for lack, like manage a small mausoleum, like manage a space, like a communal burial space, and like watch over it, tend to the bodies, make sure they're dressed and they are, you know, as free of disease as they can be, and like it watches over that space and is like a pillar of the community in which he grows up. Because of that, right? There is always a need for his family to come or for somebody to come to their family and lose someone. Like, that service is always there. And so that is, I think, the role that they play in their community.
Ooh, but then with that question then, like, that's a very important role in a community, for sure. Do the children of that community understand the value of it, or is it a bit taboo? Are they like pushed away by the weird kid who works at the mausoleum?
Oh, see, I love a good pushed away angle, and like weird little goth child is a good energy.
Ooh, that's a great energy.
Weird little slightly overly obsessed with death child is like, Oh boy, that's a powerful energy.
Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, I like that. So then were the friends like I guess they were not necessarily people. Were like who were the friends like the corpses? That might be a little dark, but it seems aligned.
I so was hoping that was going to be where your mind went, because my mind immediately went, are my best friends ghosts? Like, am I friends with ghosts?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Are we rocking a little bit of Paranorman on this story? Is that where this energy is?
We're
Like,
full Beetlejuice. We're in here.
we're full Beetlejuicing. we're living. And like, because that also, like, that is such an immediately supernatural mythical touch of like the child that like sat with the dead as they waited for the ferryman, like, is such an immediate sort of mythical energy.
Yeah.
That I really, really adore that.
No, absolutely. And that's a fascinating, like, full circle. Like, once we get to the point in which Darthius is exploring death in the underworld, we're already there. There's already such a deep familiarity with it. It's like a homecoming almost.
Yeah. That rules. That's sick. This is great.
Great start. Off to a great start.
All right. Let me draw our next card. It is the Two of Hearts, which means that our patron god is getting involved. What omens heralded the hero's birth, and who sent those omens? I'm going to take a second token here. I have two represented as leaning into the other half of our sort of like patron gods coloring the story is two I have associated with Dionysus. So I think the omen that heralded the hero's birth is an almost unnaturally bountiful, like, harvest of wine.
Ooh.
Like, every grape seemed almost ready to fill a glass or a bottle. Like, it was every grape that popped out of this one vineyard, out of this one moment that was like near the mausoleum that my family worked in, birthed out so much juice, and so much juice that led to so much wine that it seemed like there was almost the energy of a party, a celebration is forthcoming. You will need the wine and the drinks and the celebration for the celebration that is about to occur.
I love that. And with that idea, though, there is so much wine, it's overabundant. With this goth child, is it all good? Is that entirely a good omen for everyone that this is a party? Or is there any drawback for anyone that there's so much wine flowing?
I kind of love that it's, like, I think what I'm going to maybe lean into is, like, there's almost an element of, like, accidental mass production.
Yeah.
It's like there's a tremendous amount of wine, but it's not necessarily good wine. It's just, and it's, you know, you have like they have to like quickly bottle it, so it's kind of like there's a flood of cheap, slightly off-tasting wine that has been hastily bottled, and maybe the sun has altered the taste of it just a little.
Ooh.
Like, the flavor is just a little off, but there is a tremendous amount of it. But that also raises the sense at a certain point of, like, are we throwing this out, or are we suffering through wine that is slightly, like, not bad enough that it's spoiled or soured or rotten, but like just it hits you on the nose a little weird.
Mm-hmm. I think that's brilliant. Just the idea of the art of making wine has been compromised by the need to just get it out, the mass production, like you mentioned. Yeah.
All right, give us our next card.
Let's see where this goes. We got the ace.
That means we move on. How interesting that it was a very quick moving on to the next section.
Yeah, it was like this childhood ended so quickly.
I'm really excited to like explore what that means. So this is talk to us about the event that takes the hero away from the safety of home and thrusts them into the wider world.
Well, there's probably this sense of isolation because now, as the hero, as Darthius has grown of age, this abundance of wine, there is either a pendulum swing where that has continued to be the norm, where this cheap wine has come out, or it dried up completely, where it was boom and then it was bust. And so there is this idea of like, oh, this weird goth kid who bore this omen that seemed to be a good thing and then was negative is no longer necessarily welcome in our town. He speaks to ghosts all the time. They don't really commune with the community as much. So they're ostracized, and they need to maybe, as soon as they can, find a place where they can be with people who embrace that element of them rather than shunning them.
Yeah. And I think I have a very big pitch.
Ooh, I love a big pitch.
Because the specific phrasing of the question is, what incident drove them out of their comfort and who went with them on this journey?
Oh, yeah.
I think what it is if I was the child that sat with the ferryman, I think where I went was that I just hopped, like I sat on the ferry and the ferry the ferryman looked at me and was like, "You're not going where I'm going." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'll hop off when I find somewhere I'd like to be."
Oh, I love that. A little weird Odyssey vibe.
Yeah, of just like, I'm gonna ride the river Styx and see where I end up.
I love this Americana River Styx vibe that we got going. You just go down the Mississippi, figure out where you're headed.
Figure out where the journey's gonna take us where it takes us. Don't look too deep in the water.
Oh, this is an interesting childhood for Darthius.
Really, really interesting. Let's draw our first card out of clubs. It is the 6 of clubs. Clubs represents the suit of clubs represents mentorship, training, forming allies, young romances, growth, the shaping of the hero, and the ace of clubs is going to represent a major hurdle or danger that the hero faces that tests their new abilities and gains them the recognition of the world.
Well, I think going off your big pitch, the ferryman, Chiron, that's who the mentor is. We're right there.
That feels good. 6. Oh, that question is real good. Starting us off. Fuck. What is a test the hero could not pass and why did they fail?
Ooh.
Starting us off strong.
Okay.
What is the test the hero could not pass?
It does feel like it has to be presented by the ferryman in some capacity.
Yeah, it does feel like Chiron has to be the... You know what? Okay. Let's cook with some gasoline.
We're ready. We're here.
The test is... And I think it was a test from Chiron specifically. What Darthius failed to do was steer the boat. Or was row the boat.
Oh, okay.
Like, Chiron, as I see it, saw in Darthius Chiron's own story.
Ooh.
Of a passing of a mantle, of this child might be the person to row the ferry when I am completed my task, when I am done.
I am getting shivers.
I pass this. And fails to do it, like is not made for sailing, is not made for the life of rowing a boat to and from.
What was it that distracted them? What was it that prevented them from being able to do it?
I'm leaning into the vibe. I'm leaning down into the thing that I wrote. I think it was Darthius is on this ferry among the dead and among ghosts, and ghosts have always been their friends. They've always been the people that they trust. They got lost in a conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
They got caught up in chatting with a ghost that had been waiting with them when they boarded the ferry. They were in conversation. There is some sort of hazard that has emerges in the water. Some sort of monster or otherworldly entity, or even like a natural hazard, like a fork in the river. Darthius just didn't notice it and like crashes the boat, which I think has all kinds of other sort of weird, slightly horrifying like implication. Like what? And I guess I throw it to you as the fates. Like, what does it mean to the world if for a period there is no ferry on the river Styx?
I think that would imply, as the yarn of life is being told, that for a moment death stops. That for a moment on the battlefield, as wars are being waged, people cannot die. And it makes everyone question, what exactly is this? What is going on? What is happening? And then everything goes back to the way it was the moment Chiron rewrites itself. But there is this moment where everyone in the world is just stuck facing the realities of living forever with the choices they've made.
And like, I'm thinking about the idea of like, death has stopped, but that's only one piece of the, like, if you are in battle and death has stopped, that doesn't stop all of the other horrible things that can happen on the field of battle.
Not at all.
That's a terrifying moment. That is a wild moment. What a first card for this section of the game, truly.
And I think just bringing it back real small for a second, I think Dithius's parents no longer work for a couple days, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good point.
But their whole life has been interrupted by this, and I think they know that their child has something to do with it.
I think you have to at that point. That feels really, really wonderful to me. So draw us our next card. What do we got?
3 of clubs. Oh,
that is the influence of Hades. Great. Good vibe.
And this is really interesting. What test did the hero have to pass to impress their mentor? With whose help did they pass the test? Whoa.
I really love, and I guess the question that I want to throw you is, we had said when we first jumped to this section that like Chiron felt like a natural mentor. Do we feel like in the wake of crashing the ferry that is still the case?
Oh,
it's a big question.
It's a big question. It is a myth defining question. It seems like maybe yes. I do think that Chiron, with the Ferry Keeper's wisdom, has an understanding that things don't necessarily work out immediately. That fate, the hand of fate, is going to fix itself inevitably.
Sure.
But I don't think that it is with Chiron's help that the test was passed.
I think the test is, if Darthius is to ride this ferry and ride on this river, then Darthius must prove themselves to be a fisherman.
Ooh.
And to fish must prove themselves by fishing on the river Styx, which feels like a very Herculean task phrasing test.
Yeah.
To catch dinner in the river Styx is a very good divine trial phrase.
And
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
I think the interesting part here is maybe we get to see an instance in which the thing that made Darthius fail initially is the thing that helps them pass the test, is communing with the souls in this river and gaining their aid is the way that this test has been passed.
That feels great. That feels really good. There is a serpent in the river.
Ooh.
And it is almost like the supernatural communing with the dead equivalent of like a fishing operation.
Yeah.
Like I think they try for a while to like spear it directly, but it is too large and too elusive, and it is too dark in the water as it is clouded with souls to see where this serpent is. And it kind of lashes up and, bites his spear in half, and they have to kind of fight their way through this. And what they have to do is like call out to the river and say like, who has eyes on the serpent? And spirits from underneath have to say like, on your left, on your 4 o'clock. And like they manage to net this serpent through strategy and guidance and like working with people and collectively like working to catch this serpent.
Yeah.
And how do I envision Hades becomes maybe like as they catch this serpent, I mean, I think perhaps it was Hades that put the serpent there. Like perhaps it was perhaps even if Darthius is not aware of this and maybe is never aware of this, it was Hades going like, if he wants to ride the river, let them prove they're fishermen, and like throws a serpent into the river for them to try and catch, thinking that it will just devour them.
Yeah, just that it's there to torment the souls. It's there to make this problem go away. It is this larger than life problem that the only way it is achieved is by all of these souls who are lost in the river Styx coming together, maybe recognizing the fact that they are all souls together there for potentially the first time.
Yeah, that feels great. I love that. All right, what's our next card?
I think it's you.
Oh, is it me? So. It is me. You're right. Also, the 2 of what a charmed life. What a charmed life this. So, who is the hero's mentor, and what were they an expert in? I think I like we've been saying Chiron, and that feels really good. What is the skill that I think I want to reframe this as what is the skill that Chiron teaches?
Ooh. It feels like much more of a metaphorical skill, like an understanding, than an actual tactile craft or trade.
Sure. I think it is, and actually perhaps like as they grow together, as they ride the river together, like that expertise, and also the sense of you are the person that I can teach and I can pass my skills on to, is more a sense of it is very much the godly equivalent of, if you're gonna hang around, I can at least tell you like how to stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
It is a sense of like, if you are going to befriend the ghosts in the river, and if you are going to stay here in the underworld, here's what you need to know. And it is it's that kind of like almost Americana riding the river vibe of like passing by something and having the ferryman point at it and say, you see, that is where people that betrayed their friends in contests of skill go to try and betray one another. Don't play cards there. You will lose everything and be goaded into losing so much more than you intended. Like, it's just an endless series of like weird little stories about like here's what this one spot of the underworld represents. Here's what this one spot along the river represents. And like learning the tricks of the places where the underworld and the above world meet, like learning the tricks of those intersections by way of these kind of like brusque little stories.
I love that. And kind of building with that, I think going back to the question of what are they an expert in, kind of turning that on its head a little bit. They're an expert in seeing the worst of humanity. Mm-hmm. And I think Darthius brings this new naive perspective almost of the beauty of humanity, of like, yeah, these people are all like in hell or they've betrayed each other, but like the people in this river, like they haven't done anything yet. Like they're just people, and like sharing that beauty of humanity to this deific figure that has only ever seen the worst of it for thousands of years.
And like to the fact that this isn't two, like I think that's also the influence of Dionysus, right? It is the sort of godly amusement of like, I'm going to get Chiron, the ferryman of the River Styx, to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Fuck yeah. Great. All right. I think you have our next card.
Yeah. A king.
The king.
Who were the hero's first supporters and followers? Why did they choose to follow the hero? I think that's a really easy answer, honestly. I think it's the souls of the damned. Mm-hmm.
They looked forward to the moment where they got to, for a change, have a conversation on the river to wherever they're going next.
Yeah, instead of just sitting in contemplative silence.
Mm-hmm. Which is a vast change to the vibe, and I'm very happy that we got to explore this weird vibe shit.
Yeah,
this is great.
This is really cool.
All right, our next card is the Queen of Clubs. What epithet did the mentor give the hero, and was it an accurate or hopeful prediction?
Darthius the talkative.
Darthius the loudmouthed is where my brain went immediately, because this is somebody who like is used to the quiet, prefers the quiet, wants the quiet, and this kid won't shut the fuck up. Darthius the loudmouthed is a very good, and you know what? It's pretty accurate. It's not an inaccurate summation of the vibe.
And Darthius is like, please, can you just give me a cooler one? And Chiron's like, not until you earn it.
That's great. I can be the jovial... No, loudmouth, sorry. You're a loudmouth. I don't know what to tell you.
That's so good.
Don't be a loudmouth and you're not you'll get a new name.
That's so good. All right, this next card... these are weirdly shuffled. The next one's the Jack.
This is weirdly shuffled.
What was the one quest the hero trained for and dreamed of achieving? Who achieved it before the hero did? Oh, that's really interesting. Wow. So while on the river, there is probably something that they have heard of that then became a dream.
Sure.
Ooh, this is fascinating. Do you, as the hero, do you have any thoughts on what that might be?
I love, yeah, like a story that they heard on the boat about like a quest, maybe, and like to reflect, because I think it's also got to be a little bit of a why couldn't it have been me moment is I think the vibe a little bit. So like I think Darthius has heard many stories of like, I was a warrior on the battlefield and I slayed 30 soldiers, and like they're like, I'm never going to be that person.
Absolutely.
I'm not going. But I think they heard a story of someone who let's lean into the nemesis angle a little bit. Somebody who charmed and befriended the Minotaur and like talked their way into the Minotaur guiding them out of the maze.
I love
like
that.
somebody out talked the Minotaur
I
And
This actually works perfectly with the short story that I was referencing before. The entire story is predicated on the fact that Theseus is lying about his story. That, like, that this is a retelling, that he's aggrandizing it. He's telling it to his son as, like, oh, like, all of these things that I've told about myself, most of them are lies, because obviously that's just what you do as a hero. You lie about yourself. And so I think that's really interesting is, like, Theseus has said that he actually slaughtered the Minotaur. But what actually happened is Theseus befriended the Minotaur and lied to keep the Minotaur safe in the labyrinth.
And like, what better time for someone to tell the story of like, turns out the whole Theseus slaughtered the Minotaur thing, and that the Minotaur was this horrifying beast that like slaughtered the people it found. Turns out mostly lies. What better time to tell someone that than in the moments before you depart into the underworld? Like, kind of a like last like, you want to know something funny? And then out into the and then off of the boat when you have left this person sitting going like, oh my god.
I love that. I love undermining an entire canon of mythology.
It's just a parting beat. Like, oh, by the way, all this shit's full of shit. All right, bye. See you later.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, chef's kiss.
All right, our next card is the 9, which I believe is one of yours.
Which is
who or what did the hero leave behind to pursue this training, and did they regret it? I don't think they regretted leaving behind their family, because there's a sense that he has always been around. Like, you know, we had said that their parents knew that they had caused crashed the boat, and that like this moment, like there's a sense when he departed on this ferry, there is a sense of like his parents are around death and around the act of dying. You get it, like it's there, that those omens echoed forth to his parents specifically. So I don't think that they regretted it, but I have a feeling that a nemesis monster might complicate this answer dramatically.
Well, so I was doing the same thing as you did, just kind of assigning them arbitrarily. 9 was going to be Cerberus, and 10 was going to be the Minotaur. And so I think, given where we are, that makes sense with it being Cerberus. What has Cerberus now done? Have they run into Cerberus? Have they kind of reached the end of the river to the gates of Hades, where Cerberus lies not dormant?
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. I like writing this, because at a certain point, like I think so much of, you know, at a certain point, they're going to have to see what's at the end of the ride.
Yeah. And so that, like, there might be a moment of confrontation here with Cerberus, where he has heard all of these heroic deeds, and they're like they're like, oh no, I've been riding with Chiron for however long I've been riding. I'm a heroic figure now. I can do this. I can take this. And immediately, the moment that they try to confront Cerberus, Darthius is knocked on their ass, like proven that no, you have no idea what you're doing yet. You tried to run on this 3-headed dog by yourself.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. And I'm going to spend a token. I'm going to change a detail.
Ooh.
I'm going to change the detail. I'm going to pull on a specific vibe. Admit it, like, and this comes with the disclaimer that that my experience with this vibe is strictly through Twitter videos. That's all I got. But I do know that you wake up in a blood pool in Hades when your character dies. And that's very funny to me, to imagine this, like, dopey 19-year-old being like, oh, this isn't so bad. I've been riding with Chiron. I got this. Waking up in a pool of blood. Like, as a like someone patroned by Hades himself, like waking up and like being cast out of the gate of like, you don't belong here. This is not your place. But like, the changing the detail of like fully died and then was cast out of the gates of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Almost in an act of disgust and disappointment.
Oh, that's tragic. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like, have you learned
What do
nothing?
we got our next-
Have you learned nothing?
Yeah, like why did you think oh, what a good time to pull
What
the
a
ace.
perfect time to pull the ace. Wow. See,
All
that's why
right.
you always roll dice. That's why you always pull the cards, because fate knows what's up. Chance knows what's up.
Yeah. What final trial awaited the end of the hero's education and marked their graduation into a well-known hero? And did they share the credit of this success with those that helped them?
Oh. Well, this is fascinating. Because if they were so thoroughly fucked by their attempt solo at attacking Cerberus, what was it that Chiron put them through that made Darthius go, okay, now I need to do something else. I need to go in a different direction.
I have a pitch, and it's making me laugh, which sometimes is the creative impulse that is the most resonant.
No, I love a pitch.
He fucking left. he just bailed. Get yourself home.
Figure it out. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so it's like an almost like Orpheus, like you have to make your way back out of hell, figure it out.
Mm-hmm. That feels really, really compelling to me.
And then the only way that Darthius is able to get out is by using that same friendship that they have established with all of the ghosts, regardless of where in hell they fall, to be like, oh no, like I remember you. I brought you over the river, remember? Can you help me point me out towards the exit?
Yeah, it's asking favors, and it's they hitchhiked their way out of hell, which is a pretty cool, pretty fun visual to me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, all the various things like, all right, well, I'm just going to ride on top of like a giant centipede for a couple days.
They did spend a couple days in the place where people who cheat at gambling go, and actually goes pretty okay.
Honestly, they figured it out. You know, they learned how to count cards. It'll be all right.
Yeah. It's not about playing the game, it's about playing the other players, and so somebody that is blessed with the ability to be your friend is usually pretty well off in that sense.
That's so funny. I do love that we came back to the people who cheat. The circle of hell for people who cheat.
I needed to visit it one more time. I couldn't leave it.
Perfect. Well, now we're in the third section of this 4-section story.
That's right. This is our heroes' achievements, victories, loves, foes, their shining fame, which brings us, and then we draw the ace, and it is the act of hubris that marks the beginning of the end.
Ooh.
The 8 of diamonds. What treasure did the hero covet the most, and what did they do to get it? Oh. I am gonna do something bold.
Ooh, I love a bold swing.
My bold swing is I'm gonna roll a dice.
Okay.
See what we get. If I rolled an 8.
That's wild. That's crazy, actually.
And what I love, and I'm looking at the deities and creatures, we have Persephone and we have Gorgon.
Oh, I love Persephone.
Trying to decide if there's
I'm gonna go with Persephone.
I do love Persephone. It is a lock of Persephone's hair. It is a lock of Persephone's hair.
Was she one of the people who helped get Darthius out of hell?
Oh, I really like that. That's very good. And like, that's great. That's fantastic.
Because she knows what it's like to be trapped and left alone against your will in a dark, scary, unknown place.
She convinced Hades, like, give the kid another chance. Weren't you as a god young once?
Oh, I love this. And almost like Ariadne's red thread, the hair was the thing that helped guide through the points.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was what he had to do to get it along the, like, it is the thing. I mean, and what's great is that it's telling me that there is like an unexpected through line of their divine gift that is emerging, that is what I fucking love about shared storytelling. He had to find her.
Oh, that's beautiful.
She was out there somewhere, and like what that tells me, or what's really exciting to me about that thought, is it tells me that the gift that Darthius is known for is not friendship or communion or any other things. It's they know how to get where they're going.
Oh.
They have this almost magical sense of, like, they have shown over their life an almost magical sense of navigation, of finding a path where a path might not normally be found.
Ooh, that's so good.
Fuck yeah, this game rules. I'm loving this. Give us our next card.
Hell yeah. Let's see. This card is the King of Diamonds. When did the hero reach the height of their fame, and what did they do at the top? Oh.
Good.
Well, if we're going to be going down this new path, this untreaded path, it feels like that sense of like this new path that they have carved out is a path that other people can now follow, and other people can walk down alongside them or after them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is like almost like Forrest Gump, when Forrest Gump is just running and he has all the people running with him. They're inspired to take it up alongside him. That feels very Darthius-esque to me.
That feels good. That feels great. And I think it is tying into their gifts a little bit, especially as I flip the next card. I think it is a little bit of like, it's following a road of connections, for lack of a better, I think that the Darthian path, as it has come to be known, is very rural direction. As I would describe it, as somebody that spent a good chunk of my life in the country, it is very, you go down until you see the tree that is split down the middle. There you're going to find Roy. Roy is going to point you in a direction. Like, it's very one, and it's very like, there is no set path other than the various points of connection that you follow to get where you're going.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that our next one's a 9. I love that we get a little bit of problems. How did the hero win over the masses, and why were they indebted to them? Oh, this is yours, by the way. I realized that I
No, I think this is yours.
No, this is mine. This is mine. You're right.
I get the token for it.
You get the token, and you get to mess with my answer by way of Cerberus showing up to ruin my day.
Absolutely. Do you think that this has occurred while Darthius has made their way out already? Are they back on the surface, or have they not yet? Or have they been returning? Have they been going back to the underworld and returning back out? Like, is that part of it as well?
I think they win over the masses while on the search for Persephone. Like, it is a mix of two things. It is a mix of people getting omens from the dead. It is that sense of like, you hear about Darthius doing something, and it echoes something that someone you've loved and lost did in life. Like, you hear a story about this kid who ducked out of the underworld, this man who ducked out of the underworld, this person who like who fished in the river Styx and was cast out by Hades. And like, they talk about, they would always like stack their chips in this particular order, and you're like, my cousin stacked their chips in that specific, and like, in that way that it is the connections from the dead that they made that like are almost ghosts reaching out from the underworld and sharing those experiences with people. And it's a little bit of like just stops along the way, like hanging out with Dorotheus for an afternoon in a bar. Like those experiences pair together to make them famous on the hunt for Persephone, so that they can thank her for getting him out of hell.
So with that, I think there's the indebtedness to them because there is no longer this fear of death. There is more of this like welcoming part of the continuation that occurs after death. There is like a stronger understanding that occurs, and that's why people are indebted to them. And that's where I think Cerberus comes in. I think Cerberus comes in to reinstate that fear. Hades is like, why are people no longer afraid? Why are people like starting to celebrate my wife and all of this terror, or all of these beautiful things, over being terrorized by the potential of what I can bring to their deaths?
Sure. Love that a lot.
And so
great energy.
Yeah, and so with that, I think spring stops for a couple years. And that is trying to turn them against Dorotheus, turn the people against, because it is the fact that they no longer fear death. They're like, oh, you don't fear death anymore? Well, now you're going to have winter for 2 years.
That's great. That rules. That's fantastic. That's so good.
All right, let's see what this next card is. The Two of Diamonds. I love that this sounded like a gong.
That felt good. I'll probably leave that in. We'll see.
So, what wondrous weapon did Dorotheus win or gain as their quests began? Who granted them this weapon?
This is a 2, which does tie super interestingly to, I've got it tied to Dionysus, which is very interesting when we think about what the weapon might be.
Mm-hmm. It feels again like a non-traditional weapon.
Yeah.
Almost maybe, if we're gonna tie it all back, maybe it is wine. Maybe it is this magical wine that even people, even spirits, even those who are past can drink from and share communion together with. And I think that sense of camaraderie that this wine can provide is part of what makes Dorotheus so appealing, starts to bring these people, amassing them around them.
That's great. I love that so much. All right, great. Let's get our next card. We have the Queen of Diamonds, and our prompt: who loved the hero the most, and did the hero love them back?
Oof.
How interesting. What a good prompt. Because this is like, we haven't, and I think this is a part of Dorotheus's life very explicitly, is like we haven't seen a lot of lasting connection.
Yeah.
With, like Dorotheus has lived a very flitting existence. Like a very wandering life. And I think the person who loved the hero the most, let's I'm gonna say there is someone that Dorotheus like encountered frequently on their travels. Maybe it's he's a owner of he's a stable owner.
Ooh.
He manages a stable of horses.
The Herculean stables, of course.
Of course. And watched over the stables, and on all of the different travels and trips, Dorotheus would come and would visit and would rent a horse or would buy a horse, and like these two fell in love, like, and I think Dorotheus loved him back. But it was very much it was the kind of love where they wanted very different things. Our stable owner wanted nothing more than for Darthius, after they finished wandering, to settle down and rear horses together. And Darthius, this man was the love when I was there. I loved him with all of my heart, and then I left, and then I departed. I had other horizons to see.
I'm gonna spend a token to add to change just one little thing.
Yeah.
I think the last time that Darthius comes back, the stable is there, but it's empty.
Oh, fuck. Whew.
Yeah.
Damn.
Ugh, gutting. Oh boy.
Gutting. Give us that next card.
Oh god, and that's the ace.
There it
Oh.
is. There it is. I feel like, I mean, these decks are really maximum dramatic impact is really what's hitting
Yeah. What deed was the final straw that sent the hero fumbling down from their pedestal? How far did they fall? It was coming back to that empty stable. Yep. It was the fact that now the only thing that they are trying to find, the only path that they are trying to forge, is their way back to this stable owner that they cannot find, and everything else has fallen to the wayside. They are only trying to find this person again.
Incredible. And like that turns into a kind of terror, a kind of like unfulfilled. There's a sense of unfulfillment. There's a sense of obsession. It is the if I am famed across the world for my ability to find things, why is the one thing I want to find outside of my grasp?
Oh, gutting.
And that is the 2 of spades. That is the influence of our godly figures. What dark part of the hero's journey so far has finally caught up to them. Great timing, phenomenal timing. And how does the hero react to this?
Oh boy. I got a pitch.
Hit me. I love a pitch.
I think it's the isolation. I think it's that they've spent so much time in their life trying to be a hero. They've spent so much time trying to pursue this person that they forgot the thing that made them a hero in the first place was community.
That's sick. That fucking rips. And like how do they react to this? I mean, I was blessed with a wine that would spark communion, and the light under which I was born was that of a harvest. I think that they set about on a grand quest to like bring about the greatest harvest that the region that their home has ever seen. To surpass the harvest, to surpass the celebration, the festival, the festivities that occurred on the night of their birth. They intend on eclipsing it, and that becomes their late life doomed quest.
Oh, that's so sad. They're like, well, if I can't find the person I love, I'm gonna throw the greatest party ever. Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Oh my god.
What? Wow.
For everyone listening, we just pulled the Ace of Spades. What were the heroes' final moments like? What ultimately caused their demise? I think now. Oh my god. Oh boy. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I'm sitting here with 5 tokens in front of me. I'm snatching the card.
Oh.
I've collected, the gods have smiled upon me, and I've collected 5 tokens. I am snatching the card and answering it like it is my own.
Oh my god, incredible.
Because like this feels so tragic.
Yeah.
This feels so like this feels so Ozymandias. Mm-hmm. This feels so Xanadu, temple crumbling all around. This feels, and I think that what this represents, what the snatching of the card represents, is that this is a final miracle, for lack of a better way to put it.
Ooh.
The tragedy is Darthius does not see the party itself, or like all of it, does not see the end of the party. There is no one at the end of the night to shake their hand and say like, or anyone at the end of the night that wants to shake the hand of the man that organized this, of the host of the festivities. At some point, they just disappeared. The party, the festival was in full swing, and at some point, Darthius was just not there.
Wow.
And would never be seen again.
With my final token, I'm going to change a single detail.
Change the detail.
That Darthius, one person, does see Darthius. And everyone eventually sees Darthius. That Darthius has, outside of death, forged a new path back to the underworld, back to the River Styx, where Chiron is waiting for them with a huge smile and hands over the oar.
Yes, good. Fuck yes.
And Darthius becomes the ferryman.
And that is the final step of the game. Is traditionally supposed to be that the thread of life is cut, the hero is dead, but I feel like we landed in a much different place that I am over the moon about. What an ending. What a game. I am thrilled.
Oh, this was so good.
Wow. What was your favorite moment from play?
My favorite moment from play? Fuck if I know, dude. That was all so good.
Likewise. Same.
This was like the epitome of collaborative storytelling. We found a place, started off kind of as a joke, and then got real into it.
I think the thing that like really delighted me the most, every single time the ace came up, including the last one in the most unexpected place, really just kicked. Every single time I found myself like jumping out of my chair at seeing that ace, either because it landed at a moment that I was like, this is the end of a section, or in that last time, or really the childhood as well, just popping up so early and going like, oh, I didn't expect that. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, the cards knew what was going on. They were telling the story with us.
That was so good. What a great experience. Thank you so much for playing this with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. This was incredible.
I'm blown away. Real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Yeah, so I'm here with Rascal News. You can find us at rascal.news or on social media at rascal_news on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. On Blue Sky, we're just at Rascal News. We are currently in our soft launch. We're going to be launching more properly in March, where we're going to be releasing articles every single day. Please subscribe to us. If you can give us your money, fantastic. If you can't, please just regularly subscribe. We are going to send out newsletters. If you are part of a company that publishes TTRPGs or is any way involved in the TTRPGs, we are having sponsorships so we can have contributors and fellowships so we can build a stronger base and foundation for the TTRPG journalism industry moving forward. And we're also going to have themed weeks that are going to be sponsored by companies. You won't get any control over the editorial decisions, but you will get to go, hey, I sponsored Satanic Panic Week, which would be kind of a cool thing to say. But yeah, so reach out at info@rascal.news, or if you have any press releases, send them to press@rascal.news. I am so excited to be building this, and I'm really excited to be covering all the incredible things the TTRPG industry is doing.
I just did that today. Speaking of using emails and putting lessons to work, I can tell you from experience, it's a great experience. Thank you so much for playing this with me. This was such a fucking cool. God damn, I'm over the moon at how fucking cool this experience was. Thank you again. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show.
Get it, Future Jeff. Let's go, Future Jeff.
Thanks, past Rowan. And thanks again for coming on to the show. That game it's such a special experience when we really key into like a specific vibe, a specific wavelength, and we just chase that impulse as far as we can. And that is precisely what this recording, what this episode gave me. It is why I feel like this was such a special experience that I've really treasured ever since we got to play it. This was magic. Be sure to check out Rowan's work at rascal.news, become a subscriber. Like I said, this is an important thing that I think is pushing the art form in the industry forward. And be sure to check out Twist of Fates at illicitpeanuts.itch.io. And then, of course, whether you're on Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever, follow Rowan's work at Rowan Zeoli. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/Party of One Podcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/Party of One Discord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/Party of One merch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.